Hey guys, Ron here, and a year ago I made a video in which I analyzed the most likely real-world counterpart to all the fully evolved Pokemon and placed those Pokemon on a map of Earth so we could see where they would most probably originate from and live in if they really did exist, based on actual animals, plants, and our real world's geography, as if they evolved along other forms of life that truly do exist. In the last video, we did Gens 1 to 3, and we're basically doing the rest today. Keep in mind that if a Pokemon isn't here, 90% of the time it's because they would live all over the Earth in multiple continents like Vespiquen. Bees are everywhere! There's one right behind you! Pokemon who have no counterpart that actually exists in the real world, or even myths that they are based on, like Heatran or Evolutions, were also not put on the map. Also, no fossil Pokemon because they are extinct. Pretty much any Pokemon family that isn't on the map isn't here for a very specific reason. Not because I forgot them. I had a list, guys, and even the ones that are on the map could be found in locations that I didn't indicate because I placed them in their original country, like Furfrou in France, even though people all over the world have one. Make sure you check the first video to know why the grayed out Pokemon are located where they are, but let's go from west to east, starting in Hawaii with Decidueye, a possible Pueo Owl, and Bruxish, who is a Humuhumunukunukuapua, Pau-style Oricorio, and the Lay that is Comfey reside here too. And obviously we can't leave out the guardian deities. I placed each Tapu near the island that their signature Alolan Island is based on. Jellicent can be found all over the moderately warm Pacific, while Alomomola is also found in tropical water, but all over the globe. But if the heat is too much, let's jump north and go down, starting with Vanilluxe here. While I placed it in Victoria Island, it can be found anywhere way below the average world temperature. Bouffalant has been placed in the Northwest Territories and Wyoming with all the American bison. Abomasnow can live anywhere with a bunch of snow and evergreens, and while located everywhere, Lycanrocs can be easier to find in Canada and Russia. And since Luxray is not a spotted lynx, the lynx that it's based on calls Canada its home. Same with Bibarel. Canada gets Bibarel. But while in comparison it seems like the US gets the better deal with Braviary, it also has to deal with the elemental monkeys, since their designs are inspired by Japanese gangs whose looks are mostly inspired by the US. So Japan shares the burden too. Conkeldurr lives in the concrete jungle, cause why wouldn't it? But the origins of concrete are Middle Eastern. I placed it in the Sinai Peninsula as well. Venus flytraps like Carnivine are native to North and South Carolina, and Pom-Pom Oricorio was placed where cheerleading became a tradition. Watchhog has been placed in different locations depending on its true origin, but if we consider it a groundhog or a prairie dog, Utah makes sense. And Area 51 is where Behem is held, although they can be found as southern as Roswell, New Mexico. Depending on whether or not we consider Volcarona to be an Atlas moth, I place it in the US and East Asia. Maractus can be found in Mexico and the Caribbean, while Hawlucha is happy in Mexico too, with the other luchadors. I've deduced that Musharna is a South American tapir, and placed it in Belize. Since it may be a Honduran white bat, Swoobat is Honduran, but it's also in Somalia with the heart-nosed bats. Scolopede can be found with the other giant centipedes in the northern parts of South America, just like Crocodile with the other spectacled caimans, although it could also be found in North Nigeria with some slender-snouted crocodiles. While it can be found in Costa Rica too, Ambipom is more abundant in the Amazon, and offshore in the Galapagos is Primarina. Back in the mainland, Magmortar can be found all around the world, but only in the tropics near a volcano. While the West Brazilian Seismitoad likes wetter places, like the Suriname toad. The Matamata-like Turtonator can be found in the Amazon basin, while Toxicroak can be found all over Central and South America. Sigilif guard the Nazca lines in Peru, while Heatmore and Durant coexist in Bolivia, alongside Tucanon. Chinchino can be found around the intersection of Chile, Peru, and Bolivia, while all the way in Easter Island, Probopasts were first discovered. I've pinpointed the species of skunk that Skuntank most resembles and placed it in southern Argentina with the Humboldt's hog-nosed skunk. And before we move on to another major continent, let's look at some Antarctic Pokemon, some of which are in the Arctic too. They're pretty self-explanatory honestly, so let's take a massive jump over to Greenland, one of the places with a good amount of bear ticks. Now let's make our way to Europe. We have Mudsdale in Scotland, and Gothitelle in the origin of Goth fashion, England. Chandelure is from Europe, but more specifically France, and the fossils of Meganora support Yanmega's placement in England and France. Swanna can be found in the waters all around England, most of which need permission from the Queen to be caught and trained. Violet Oricorio is in Spain for obvious reasons, but the flamenco can-can plague doctor Aromatisse is here. Serperior is aesthetically French, and Slurpuff is both French in its dessert origin and dog origin. Gallade, like Gardevoir, is a French knight, and Furfrou is the poodliest Pokemon in existence, and you know where those came from. though they can be found in Germanic countries as well. Excelgor, while Japanese-inspired, must be located near Escavalier, so since Excelgor is a shellless snail and Escavalier is a combo of 3 French words, it's pretty French. Hydreigon is German in design, origin, and name, while Golurk is inspired by the Golem of Prague from Jewish mythology. Here's some more Bibarels and lichen rocks in Russia, and over in Italy, where modern music notation was invented, we can encounter Meloetta, who may very well be inspired by the muses of Greece. The Nike-like Victini is in Greece as well, with the Aegis-inspired Aegislash. Delphox can be found any place where Europe and Asia intersects, since it's a combination of a lot of different witch and fox myths. And now it's time for the African Pokemon. Conkeldurr is in the origin of concrete, Lucario is Pokemon Anubis, and while we're in Egypt, the sarcophagus that is Cophagrigus was first found. Hippowdon can be found in both Egypt and Sudan, while Mandibuzz frequents any desert around Sudan, the Sinai, Negev, or Arabian Peninsula. So the Red Sea it is. Luminion can be seen illuminating the lakes of Chad and Niger near Nigerian crocodiles. Druddigon can be found in many African countries like the common agama, and the species of mongoose that most resembles gumshoes can be found in Ethiopia. Some Somalian heart-nosed bats live with particular swubats, and like plain zebras, Zebstrika can be found in Kenya. Tanzania is home to lions like Pyroar and masked lovebirds like Chatot. If we were to consider Watchog part meerkat, it can be also found in Botswana, while over in Madagascar, the black and white ruffled lemur, Passimian, can be observed playing. Let's make our way back to Asia and begin with the generally Middle Eastern Hoopa. A lot of the Middle Eastern Pokemon were covered in the previous video, so let's make our way to Nepal, where the Himalayan Yeti Crabominable can be found. As we find ourselves in China, we'll encounter some tough opponents. Beware can be found in the eastern Himalayas and southwestern China, like the red panda. Darmanitan can be found in China if we're basing it on the Bodhidharma, but I placed him in Indonesia as well if we're considering him an orangutan. Both Infernape and Ambor are based on famous Chinese novels. Pangoro is aptly placed with the pandas, and Mianxiao was first discovered where Kung Fu was first developed, but has spread to Russia, Europe, and even Canada. Staraptor, a white-cheeked starling, is native to East Asia, and if we consider Volcarona an Atlas moth, it can be found in Southeast Asia as well. Sarina can be found in Southeast Asia too, with the mangosteen fruits, while some have been spotted in Guatemala. Pukumuku can be found in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, like Toxapex, while it can also be found in Australia, which is the most common habitat for crown of thorn starfish. Oranguru has been placed in Borneo with a specific kind of orangutan, and Magborder, like I said before, can be found in tropical volcanoes. Ferrothorn can be found near the durians of Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, while Komodo has been placed near Komodo with the Komodo dragons, although they have been dispersed throughout Polynesia too. Livani, the leaf insect, can be found all over this area, in South Asia and Australia. But Komala is as Australian as can be, with the Dragalge floating around the southern Australian coast. Now it's time to finally describe all the Pokemon that can be found around Japan. Like last time, I've created another giant Japan right off the coast of actual Japan, because the country can't contain every single Pokémon monster on this measly map. Based on its in-game location, Shaman can be found in Sakhalin, and Spiritomb in Hokkaido, Japan. Cresselia and Darkrai are on the real-world counterparts to Full Moon and New Moon Island, and Regigigas can be found in the real-world Snow Point City. Weavile is in northern Japan, based on the myth it's based on, and the weasels it relates to. The Time and Space Duo can be found in the real-world version of Mount Cornet, and Arceus in Spear Pillar. The Lake Trio also lives in their real-world counterpart locations. Floatzel can be categorized as a Japanese weasel, and Cherim is a Sakura, or Japanese cherry blossom. Frostlass is based on the Japanese myth of the Yuki Onna, and Sock and Throw can be found in the birthplace of Judo and Karate. The Simis are partially based on the Three Wise Monkeys, Japanese gangs, and youth cultures, so Japan is their turf. Bronzong, based on Dotaku, Japanese ritual bells, were first worshipped in Honshu, but a small population can be found in Korea. And Landorus, based on Japanese fertility gods, who is also linked to Raijin and Fujin, has helped the people of Japan for centuries. The samurai otter Samurott and the samurai armor-clad Bisharp are here too, while a breed of Delphox, who also stem from Japanese fox myths, calls Japan home. Greninja, well, is a ninja, Sensu-style Oricorio exemplifies Japanese dance, and Electivire is an Oni, a Japanese ogre. And while Reapers and Gods of Death are found around the world, Shinigami, Yamawarawa, and Chochin Obake are huge inspirations of the Duskull family. But throughout history, they have been seen in Europe and North America, guiding souls to the afterlife. Well, there you have it. If you want the full map, make sure to follow me on Twitter, where I'll post the link, So check the description for all of that, the t-shirts I made for you guys, my Patreon where you can get cool rewards, or even click the join button to see my videos days early. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon.